I wish you a very happy and prosperous New Year 2025. Through you, I extend my wishes to all the staff working in the presidency of Burkina Faso. I hope 2025 will be a year filled with good health for you, your family, and your loved ones, so that you can give your best at work for the happiness of our people. May 2025 also be a year where all your projects are crowned with success and prosperity. Above all, throughout the year, may God guide our actions, protect us, and watch over us. I also wish to remind everyone that the fight against imperialism must now be ingrained in our genes. It must be an unrelenting and daily struggle because many still do not understand the essence of this fight. Our brave combat forces are on the ground fighting against these criminals who plague our countryside. Every day, they stand firm to bring peace to our beloved Faso. As they do so, our hardworking masses, including farmers and herders, are also fighting to achieve food self-sufficiency with the support of the technicians from the Ministry of Agriculture. This is very important. Similarly, while they fight on the front lines, those of us in administration must also fight to change our mentality. This mental decolonization is the hardest part, which is why we constantly remind you to change your mindset, return to our roots, and fight. This is also part of the struggle against imperialism. Every opportunity is a chance to understand imperialism and its manifestations. When I consider Emmanuel Macron's recent remarks about Africa, every conscious African should quickly grasp their meaning. General Tiani recently spoke about a change in tactics or a strategy for French forces in Africa. Macron came to confirm it. T involves dissolving and maintaining a foundational presence. Macron stated this clearly, and we can only thank him for his honesty, even though some have tried to mislead their populations. But reality always catches up. They won't leave certain countries, they've merely dissolved their structures. You won't see them in bases anymore, but they'll be present in embassies. They'll create security companies to protect their interests in these countries. Soldiers will remain, but they will no longer be visible in uniform or grouped in bases. That's all it means. They are reorganizing but staying. Macron spoke of politeness towards certain heads of state, giving them the courtesy of announcing the rupture or the departure of French forces. To us, it's irrelevant. What we know is that if you want a real break with these imperialist forces, it starts with denouncing the agreements. Everything begins there. The example of Chad is tangible. They started by denouncing the agreements. Otherwise, simply stating that the bases are leaving achieves nothing because the real issue lies in the colonial defense agreements signed at independence. The most dangerous are not those you see in the bases. The most dangerous are the military advisors. These advisors exist in all these countries. They were present in Burkina Faso until 2022, until we took responsibility. And who are these military advisors? They are the ones tasked with implementing France's policies here. They work to weaken our armies so that France can always justify its presence. Under Blaise Compaoré, they succeeded. Our sentinels were on guard duty with sticks. That's what France wants for our armies. When we reach such a stage, we have no choice but to let them settle. But at some point, the Burkinabe army managed to rid itself of military advisors. Unfortunately, in 2019, after the Tapano operation, where the French saw that the Burkinabe army still had the capacity to respond to terrorism, they summoned the Chief of General Staff to France and instructed him to reinstate military advisors throughout the structure. He refused. But upon his return to the country, politicians instructed him to accept the military advisors. That's how they returned to the Burkinabe army in 2019. With all the consequences we know, the army was disappearing in 2020 and 2021. Many soldiers deserted during that time because there was no hope. We were collapsing. That's how they operate within the general staff of the armed forces, in all army headquarters, and in military schools. They dictate the policies of our army, decide how many to recruit, when to recruit, and what to do with them. They are in our schools, telling us how to train our soldiers, and so on. As long as these military advisors are present, you are not independent. Your army will merely have the appearance of an army, performing parades and putting on a show. But when war comes, you will realize that parading is one thing, and war is entirely another. Breaking the agreements is the only way to have an independent army, to build strength and resilience. Unfortunately, many do not understand this. Even under these agreements, France selects officer cadets from our states to train them, and this happens through the same agreements. In reality, most of these officers are not trained to serve their own countries but to serve the French state in their countries. They are shaped to prioritize France's interests. For example, when we rose up, many officers in Burkina Faso who had been trained in France were immediately contacted and told, "This is the moment to act because you are trained for this, to serve France's interests." Many of these officers reported this to us. We took note and have continued to monitor the situation. When a French-trained officer returns to his country and, unfortunately, dies, whether by accident or on the battlefield, in France, during their night of remembrance for fallen soldiers, they mention his name and say he died for France. They are not trained to serve their homeland, they are trained to serve the French state. This is the reality in many African countries. How many of these officers are truly patriotic? Only God knows. Emmanuel Macron's recent remarks are another lesson for African heads of state to wake up and truly fight against imperialism. However, his statements also insulted all Africans. One part particularly caught my attention when he spoke about ingratitude, saying it is a disease not transmissible to humans. According to him, he is human and our ingratitude is not transmittable to him. That's how this man views Africa and Africans. To him, we are not human. Perhaps he is the one who is not human, as he does not place himself in the category of humans. But if anyone is ungrateful, it is him. If he is not an atheist and prays every morning, he should pray to Africans. It is thanks to our ancestors that France exists today. He should be praying to us. To him, we are not humans, we are more than humans. These are powerful messages he conveys. I pity the French people, but I also believe that Macron is a necessary evil for Africa. He is a wake-up call. Those who want to awaken will do so. Those who do not want to wake up, well, you cannot wake someone who is not asleep. Africans must wake up. We must work to become independent, to ensure that our people know happiness. The fight against imperialism is part of this. We must decolonize our minds and take into account all these realities. The world offers us so many examples. For them, there is no morality. They can call you a terrorist today and a hero tomorrow with just their words. They decide what they want. They speak of democracy but stage constitutional coups amongst themselves. They talk about human rights but decimate populations elsewhere. Africans must wake up. Africa must wake up. The fight against imperialism is permanent. I urge you to incorporate this fight to work towards true independence, self-sufficiency, and development so that our people may know the happiness they aspire to. Thank you. I wish you a very good day, a great week, and a prosperous year ahead. At the end of 2025, as we reflect on the year, let us be able to say that we contributed significantly to our nation. Thank you all. May God bless you. May God protect our beloved homeland. The motherland or death we shall overcome.